Okay, since we don't have a sign-in sheet, and I don't know how you guys do that with the webinar, but I'll just like to know who was online. And I guess Dr. Hopkins can you guys can let me know so that I'll know who to give access to based on those that have been on the training.
Sure.
So if you guys do that for me, that would be great. I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I'm Helen Tyree. I'm in the bioinformatics unit in the Clinical Research Center here at Morehouse School of Medicine. And I'm going to do pretty much a basic overtraining on REDCap and cover a couple of things that there were questions about. We can't get into anything in depth because the modules are very long, and the more detailed, you guys can give me a call and we can do one-on-one, and I can do a webinar on a specific module that you may want to have more help on. So we'll do it like that. But if I go too fast, please stop me. If you have any questions, you can either put them in the window or we can do them towards the end. But if you need to have a question while I'm on a module, just go ahead and stop me and we can go over it. Great. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Okay. These are some of the objectives. If I'm too loud, also let me know because I have this headset on. I'm gonna give you a brief overview of what REDCap is, description of it, how it can be used on your projects through Morehouse School of Medicine, and the difference between a survey and a database development. We'll go over that a little bit. And I'll go through the slides, and then I'm going to allow time to go on live and look at a few, maybe a test project, and then do a couple of examples on how to create a form, how to create a data type in a form. So I'll be going through some of that and show you some exporting and importing, and we'll get going. Okay, and how you manage your surveys once you've completed a survey. Using REDCap, creating your own database. How you access your data, and a little bit of data entry, and I'll show you what it looks like in the data entry area. And again, exporting, importing your data, how to create a report. REDCap, the acronyms, Research Electronic Data Capture. It is the informatics core at Vanderbilt created REDCap. It's in NCR and NIH grants. Vanderbilt is the owner of the software, and anything that has to be changed within the software, we get upgrades. The administrators, me and other REDCap administrators, get notices of upgrades, and if it's something that we think that we need, we will upgrade it. Sometimes some of the upgrades that they do don't affect anything that we do. It would never change your data. It's just going to give you, enhance a little bit more what REDCap is going to look like for you. It's a secure web-based application for building and managing online surveys, database designed to support data capture for research. For doing data entry operators can utilize it. And also, it's just not for research. If you have a survey that you would like to create, like some in SurveyMonkey, it's a little bit more than what you get using SurveyMonkey. So that's what REDCap does. It's stored in our secure MySQL database. It can be used to collect any type of data, including the 21 CFR Part 2, HIPAA compliant environments, so on and so forth. It's specifically geared to support online or offline data capture for research studies and operations. You can consider this for any clinical trial in which web-based data entry is desired. It can accommodate multiple sites and studies. The software is distributed through the REDCap Consortium, and they attempt to facilitate informatics support for clinical research and foster a collaborative network of institutional researchers who share and support REDCap as a common research tool. It offers a free, easy to use, and secure method of flexible yet robust data collection. So it's pretty neat in that it's pretty user friendly. And what I'm going to give you is going to be a lot that is going to be overwhelming, and you may like, wow, I can't do this. But once you really get the concept of what it does and what it is, and you play with it a little bit, it'll be very easy. And a little bit about the consortium. It's composed of 2,700 active institutional partners from various different areas and other institutions in 117 countries. The consortium supports a secure web application exclusively to support data capture for research studies. It allows users to build and manage online surveys and database quickly and secure, and is currently in production use or development build status for more than 491,000 projects, over 653,000 users, which is it's a lot. It's a lot, but there are a lot of different, as you can see, a lot of different countries using it and a lot of different institutions. And so far, there have been 4,695 articles published on using REDCap. This is kind of just a snapshot of what we have here at Morehouse. We got about 854 projects in production and 305 in development. And some of those projects that are in production and are in development could be some of the projects that people are just temporarily working on. We have 72 active users, but we have a total of 442 users. And a lot of the students will go on and use their use REDCap for their projects, and then they may not need to use it for a while. And that's the same with some of the investigators. So it may look like we have a lot of users that aren't really using it, but they use it when they need it for the most part. And then I'll tell you about this again. If you haven't utilized your REDCap in 90 days, you will get suspended. You won't lose your data. You won't lose your, it'll be temporary access, which means you won't be able to get in until you at least send me an email and say, hey, I'm ready to use it again, so please unsuspend me. And that's the only reason why we have it like that, because we want people to, remember it's there and try to use it. REDCap is a streamlined process for developing projects. You can use both of the following methods. You can use your web browser using an online designer. And this is one that I recommend if you're new to using REDCap and you want to get a little bit more familiar with the data types, the data names, and I'll show you a lot of those when I get ready to go through the online. And it's easier that way. You get to know a little bit more about REDCap. Or if you're savvy and someone has sent you a data dictionary template, you can upload it if it's in the proper format, and it can be uploaded into REDCap as your project, and you modify it as you wish. Both surveys and database can be built using these methods. If you're working on a project with someone and you guys are working on the same one and you're making data edits and changes, just be careful who's made the last change, because the last change will override the previous change. So if you're working on a project where you're using the Excel spreadsheet, go ahead and make sure that when you upload that it's the latest that you want. Here are some of the features. Online using the designer, again, like I was saying, using the dictionary or template. The availability of software is available at no cost for REDCap consortium partners. It's secure web-based. Input data or build an online survey, again, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, anywhere in the world over a secure web connection. It's fast and flexible. From production, you don't have to wait for anyone to upload or anyone to do anything overnight. As soon as you create it, it's in real time. It will give you what you created. And you can use multiple sites, give multiple sites access. It can be used by researchers from multiple sites and institutions. Research groups have complete, I can never say this word, okay, you guys know it, and control to add new users. So in other words, you have full control over your data. However you set it up, whatever users you want to have on there, you have access. You can give them access to whatever level you would like for them to have. You are in total control. It's a good audit trail for tracking data, manipulation, and user activity. You can see who's been using the system, where they are on the system, if they've just entered data, if they've deleted something. So you can see all that in the audit trail. You can do downloads using Excel, PDF, or statistical packages. It has a built-in project calendar. That calendar does not link to Outlook or any other calendars. It's the calendar within that particular project you're working on. You could set up, for example, if you have patients coming in at a certain visit for this project that you've built a database on, you can go in and you can have them set up schedule for them in there. Ad hoc reporting tools on the inside of the reporting section. So you're able to go in and create reports as you wish, set up certain filters. And there are, excuse me, other advanced features like branching logic, file uploading, and calculated fields. Excuse me. Again, it's quick and easy software installation process. You don't have to do anything but actually have access, because we on our team basically does that back end for setting everything up. And we talked a little about the compliance, the HIPAA 21 CFR, and also international standards. You have direct and total control over your system. REDCap is fully personalized to meet your security policies and user needs. So we control that here on this end. So it's just basically letting you guys know about the regulatory compliance. And it's available in multiple languages, Chinese, French, German, Portuguese, Spanish, and it's anticipated that other languages will be available in full version of REDCap soon. So as other institutions or other countries come on to REDCap, we have someone that will go in, and if they're interested in acquiring the help, people can go in. Individuals will be able to go in and in their language. One of the tools that they've added on recently is called the Messenger. The Messenger is basically a tool that helps you on your project with individuals who may have a message or would like to message you for have a conversation with a project that you're working on, and they also have REDCap, so that everything is within. They can send you their project to ask you if any questions that you may have, that they may have, so you can work together on that. It also helps us as we do system notifications and general notifications. If you have a question or something for me, and I'm usually have REDCap up all the time, so you can send me a message through there. If you wanted me to look at a particular project, you can add the project. So it's basically for anyone that has REDCap access, and there's some conversation within those projects. Any questions so far? I know I'm moving kind of fast. Stop me at any time. This is just a little bit about how secure your data is. We have different layers of, we work with our information management resources so that they can assist us and we can be on the right page. If there are any firewalls, they make sure that all of that is taken care of. And it's protected by the SSL, the secure sockets layer encryption. And we have an operating system platform layer. We've changed it, so I don't have the new one in there, but this is just to let you know that it is secure. I know a lot of you are not really interested in the back end, but this is just so that you have an idea that you can be comfortable with the fact that your data is going to be secure, because we have things that we have to follow. And this right here is just a little thing I put together about different steps. You know, your first step, you learn what type of project you want to create. Is it a survey, or is it a data collection form, or is it both? Learn the different functions needed to create your project. And then once you get to this part of create, you're going to obtain access to the system after training session, which you all will get once I get the names of who was on the training session. And then you'll be able to go in and start working on your project online. You can define the data variables. That's where you go in and you put your text boxes, your drop-down menus, your radio buttons, etc. Preview. Once you've done all of the defining parts, you want to preview, add your study member permissions, and test the functionality. And I'll be saying this again, is that you need to make sure you test what you're putting in so that you get what you want before you put it into production. Because while it's in the development format, you're able to make a lot of changes without having me to go in, or without going in and out of draft mode. So just test it, put in some data before you really go live. And then you can you launch your project from production to start collecting the real data. And as we all know, that's on the line, it deals with research, human subject research. You have to have an IRB approval. By the time you guys get to wanting to have REDCap access, you're pretty much, for those projects that are human subject research, you will have your IRB approval. This is just a little note we kind of like to put in. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference between a survey and a database development. You know, how you create a new project in REDCap, your project title. You want to actually the purpose of your project, how will it be used? You want to select what type of project. Is it a survey or is it a database, which I call a case report form? And the difference in how that's being used, how you design your project. And there are various ways to design it. Either you want to start a project from scratch, or you want to create an empty project from a blank slate, or you want to use one of the templates. We don't have standard templates, but there are some templates that, you know, REDCap kind of put out, Vanderbilt put out on, and I'll show you where those are, some sample templates. Once you've been granted access, this is what you'll get, an email that tells you that you have been login access to REDCap, and just click here, and you'll have your username is set up in a specific format, but you will take this temporary password, and once you log into that temporary password, the system will allow you to go in and change your password. And once you actually are there, this is how you log in. You'll see a screen that will have your name and your login, for your password. And this is getting started. In this particular area here, this is what you'll see every time you pull up REDCap. The help and FAQ is basically an area where Vanderbilt is building on it, and they're making it a little bit more user-friendly for you. I forgot this. I think it's going a little bit too fast. Okay, sorry. Okay, are you guys? There we go. Help and FAQ is basically will give you some tips on what to do. It's being redone. It's not all updated, but it'll give you enough. Training videos, we'll talk a little bit about that a little more, and there are videos that you can go in on different modules and understand some things about REDCap. New project tab is where you start your project. You want to know how to create your new project. You give it a title again, and you would select one of these areas here. And then you will, if it's you can put project notes that you want here. You can select whether you want to create an empty project or upload a REDCap project. Okay, so but we're going to create an empty project. So we're going to choose a blank slate or template. Here's where the templates, that they're a little different on different versions, and these are just examples. You can click on one of them and modify it to fit you, and it'll give you a little bit more explanation. I'm going to go through the single survey one so that we can go through, and it'll show you what each, we're back here again. Well, we'll show you what each instrument, how each data type is set up. Within the new project, you'll see the navigation links, project title, and project tab. This is your navigation area here. Your links in this over in this area. And this is the title of your project. With example survey is the one that I'm using. And project setup is where you will actually start creating your project. You would click create. And these are examples of projects that are already in here. And I'll talk a little bit about this when I actually go live, but I just kind of wanted to go through some of the slides here. You choose your action, and I'll show you what that looks like when you choose your action. Once you've actually created your form, this is what it would look like. And Online Designer, like I said, makes it easy to customize existing fields and add new fields. You would click on add, and I'll go through on live and show you how to do all of that. And how you set up your variable names and add fields. And it's going a little bit too fast, but it's okay. We'll go back through all of this when I go online. Many field types are available as well as field options. And these are your field labels, your choices of what you selected, field types. The data dictionary is a method to use a spreadsheet. It builds your instrument. You can edit your project fields in Excel and then upload to the new dictionary. And a lot of this on the modules, you have videos that will actually go over. You could go over it again. It will actually give you some of them 5, some of them 10 minutes about your different project that you're working on, module that you're working on. And this is what a data dictionary looks like. Each row corresponds to a field. And that's a whole nother session, a whole nother webinar just about data dictionaries if you want interested more on data dictionaries. This is where you would go in and you would test your data, enter your test data, and the test data will often lead to more instrument changes. So that's why it's good to go ahead and do it. You click on add and edit records, and that's where you actually go in and enter. You start out by, or you can add new record here, either one of these areas. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about data entry. It's going a little too fast. Again, I know this could be overwhelming if I'm going too fast. When I go online, you could stop me. I'll take it a little slower. I just kind of want to get through the slides to give you a picture of what it really looks like, and then we can work on it a little at a time. Entering your data, you can either do it in a single survey, a data entry form, and we'll talk a little bit about how to access it, and logging in and entering it. Single survey is actually, for example, if you have a coordinator, a project lead, a program manager, can send a project link to respondents, and they don't have to have access to REDCap. Respondents go to the web page or wherever you send the link, and they will pull it up and they can enter it from there, and it goes into REDCap where you have access. You can log into your project and view and analyze the data there. A data entry form is what I call it, is basically you create your data collection instrument, you enter directly into REDCap, but you have to have access to REDCap in order to get in and enter it. And this is the area, your main menu, again, is basically where you will go in and it will list your data collection forms here. Record status dashboard, I'll talk a little bit about that when we go live so we can actually click into it. And then again, this is where you would add and you would edit. This main viewing area actually will give quick tasks like the code book, or if you want to export from here or create a report. This project dashboard basically lists the users, who has access to the project stats, if you have set up your calendar events. And once you're ready to do entry, this is what your form will look like here. The descriptive field kind of tells you what the form, for example, date of observation, this is a date field. Your date field is set up for either today, you can click today, or you can go and specify a date. These are actually the entry fields. Again, a little bit more about the must provide value. You set that up when you're setting up your form, so that they will know that this is a field that must be entered. If it's not entered, they can push through past it, but then your form will say be incomplete. And you can at that point decide whether you want to move forward or go and get the information and put it in later. Once you've gotten access, you'll be assigned a project to enter. You go to My Project. Projects you have access will be listed here. And of course, this one didn't have anything. And so there was a question about the randomization module. Randomization is a process, of course, that assigns participants, subjects by chance rather than by choice into specific groups. Typically for clinical research and clinical trials, for example, each subject assigned to receive either the new treatment or the control placebo treatment. The randomization module in REDCap will help you implement a defined randomization model within your project, allowing you to randomize your subjects, records in your project. In this module, you first define the randomization module with various parameters. Based on the defined parameters, the module creates a template allocation table, which you can use to structure the randomization table you will import. The module also monitors the overall allocation, progress, and assignment of randomization subjects. REDCap helps you implement a defined randomization model within REDCap. It'll define all the randomization parameters. It'll create and upload your custom randomization table. which is your allocation list. The table serves as a lookup table for deciding how to randomize subjects and records. REDCap does not create the randomization table for you. This table must be generated outside of REDCap using other software like the SAS, most likely by the statisticians or the data analysts involved in your project. By letting you create your own allocation to table outside of REDCap, it lets you and your team choose exactly how you wish to structure your allocations and assignments. For example, block sizes. Okay. And this I'm going to touch a little bit about data export reports and stats. You would click on reports and stats links underneath the application. And to get a little bit more familiarized, there's a video, and then I'll actually walk through it when I go live. It's easy to use to report your data, plots, descriptive stats. It gives tables. It also gives pie charts, and you can copy those and print those out. The mobile app. The mobile app is another one that basically I would need to get more, have another session for that because it's a little bit more involved, but this is just basically touching on what it is. It's online. It's used with ability to create and manage surveys and database quickly and secure to facilitate data collection. The mobile app is a new dimension to the software by providing users with a tool for offline data collection, particularly in environments with poor internet connection or no connection at all. REDCap users can now collect their data in a mobile app on an iPhone, iPad, or Android phone or tablet. With REDCap and the REDCap mobile app, users have new options for electronic data capture for studies that under provisions circumstances would have dictated pen or pencil. So this is the new wave, so to speak. The app cannot be used on its own, but is a companion app that must be used alongside REDCap itself. All users of the app must already be a REDCap user before using the app. So for example, you can't go in and download it on your phone and think that, yeah, okay, I got it on my phone, I can go in it. There are some back-end things that have to be done, like you have to get an API token and so on and so forth. But again, that's in a class or session that I'll be able to work with whoever is interested in this. Okay, let's see. Okay, the REDCap mobile app is an app that can be in. I just talked about that. It can be used on a tablet, and the flow is most useful when data collection will be performed where there's no internet connection, no Wi-Fi or cellular service. They can navigate to the mobile app page on the project's left-hand menu and set up the project inside the mobile on their device, and I could show you how to do that. And there's also a video. This is kind of the workflow of it. You create your project, you download your project, you download your data, you collect your data, you send the data, and then resync the data. When you go back to where you have connection after everything's been synced, you'll be able to pull it up on your REDCap project once you log into REDCap. Does anyone have any questions so far? I'm pretty much done with the online. I'm going to actually, I know you guys are seeing a blank screen right now, but what I'm going to do, my system is kind of slow. Give you guys a little 5-minute reprieve, and then I'm going to go online. Except my system won't let me. Okay, if you guys are ready, we can keep walking through. This is the screen you'll see. I'm going to go into login, and of course, it's telling me that's not correct. Uh-oh. Sorry. Okay, we're ready to walk through. I'm going to go back to home. And some of the features, it'll be listed here as well once you go in. My project, again, like I indicated earlier, is where you will actually see all of the projects that you have access to. If someone's giving you access or you've built your survey or your database, it'll end up here where my projects are. Help and FAQ, again, is basically just an area that's going to tell you a little bit. There may be some different questions. It's very overwhelming, but if you take your time and go through, you'll be able to see some things that you may be interested in. Training videos is another good one. The concept is still the same. Some of the tapes, they are updating this, but some of them still have 2012. But if it's 2012, nothing's changed in that particular area. So it's just giving you a general description of different ways to get started building your project. And those are usually on each module that you're in, and I'll enter, and I'll show you that as we walk through it. Send it is basically an area where if you have something that's secure, or if you have a file that you need to send that's at least 1,000 megabytes in size, you can use this format. What it'll do is it will send you a code, just like a file transfer. It will send you a code, and then once you get the code, it'll send you another email for you to actually go in and get what you're trying to get. And here's the messenger area. You wouldn't see control center because that's basically what the administrators have. I'm going to go over to, and we're going to start a new project. Simple. You just go into new project and you go in and give it a title. And you want to know the purpose of the project. If it's a research project and you have a PI, you're going to put in the PI information, you're going to put in the email address. If all this applies, some of research projects will not require information about a PI, so you wouldn't even, it's not a required field. The only required field would be to specify what type of project you're working on. And I'm just going to say it's a clinical research study. At this level, you can go in and you can sign a project folder, which is what I've had. These are folders that I've created. And I'm going to put this in example test project. So if you have a lot of projects you're working on, you're working with different agencies, or you're working with different cores and you want to list them, you can list them in here. That way it makes it a little bit cleaner when you're going to look for your project. And you can put comments, describe the project, use, or purpose on this area here. So we're gonna, right now I'm not gonna create an empty. I'll show you how to create an empty. What I'm gonna do is use a template so that I can walk through what the different data types are. This particular one I'm gonna do is called a single survey. And this is gonna, it contains a single data collection instrument enabled as a survey, which contains questions to demonstrate all the different field types. And that's what reason why I wanted to select this particular one. And I'll show you how to do an empty one, which is very simple as well. So I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna click single survey, and I just click create my file. Because this is a survey, it already has been enabled. When you create your project from scratch, if it's a survey, then you want to click, you want to make it, you want to enable it. If it's not a survey and you want it to be a data collection form, then you would just leave it like it is. You can also have two on it. You can have a survey, for example, if you have a study that has or a survey that has a baseline, or it has a questionnaire first and then forms afterwards. Then one would be a survey where you can send off to the participant, and then the other ones they would have to fill out, or someone would have to fill out when you come back. So again, they will all be in the same database. You have your single survey, and then you have data collection. So you have both. Okay, we're still in the project setup. And what I like to do is kind of go through each one of the steps. We've already done this part here, so I'm just going to say I'm done, because I know I'm not going to go back and change it. And this is all this is what we first started out with, where the purpose, so on and so forth. Now, Online Designer is where you actually go in and start your building your project. So I click Online Designer. They call it data collection instruments. So within here, you have a survey queue. If you have more than one survey, you can go in and you'll see what surveys are in here. If you want to have a survey to be logged in, you can go and set that up to be logged in. Survey notifications are basically whoever created it or whoever's on your project and you want them to receive the notifications. This is where they would be listed here, and this is where you would enable for them to be. And I could show you how to create, but we're going to go through the example survey. This is where your instrument name is. If this was not enabled, you could click here and enable it. You can view it as a PDF. This will tell you the number of fields. Your instrument actions, basically, if you want to rename your project, if you want to copy it and go in, you have two forms that are similar. You can copy it and go in and make modifications. If you want to delete it, you can delete it here, or you can download instrument into a zip. Survey settings. I'll go through the settings after I walk through how to create each one of these fields. Okay, now I'm actually ready to build and customize my collection instrument. For this particular field, this field will not be displayed on the survey page, but it is more of a tracker of how many forms that you have in. You could change this to record ID because its system generates a record ID and gives it a number. For example, when I complete this one, it will be record number 1. If I wanted to have participant IDs, I would add a field and I would put in participant IDs where I can go in and actually type in the information. You can't delete this field. This is always going to be the first field on your form. But again, they won't see it. It can only be edited. Section headers. For example, if you had a form that has medical history and it has medication, you want to separate the two. This is where you would use a section header. The funny thing about a section header, though, is that if you're creating a form from scratch, you can't end it or you can't start it with a section header. What you have to do is, I call it trick the system. Uh, Basically, if this was blank, there was nothing here, it would not allow me to add a section header. I would have to complete this area here, then go in the middle and then add my field. And when you add a field, your first, again here, this is where your field type videos, if you want to know anything about this area you're working in, you can click on the video and it'll tell you. I'm going to go through each one of these because it's in the survey, but I just kind of want to touch on it a little bit. Your field types is basically where you start setting up your project. For this particular one, they actually created the section. It's a descriptive text. It provides information text and is used to divide the survey into sections. The next one is called a multiple choice. This multiple choice and this pencil is where you do your editing. If you wanted to copy this one and modify it, for example, if you had two questions that were similar, you can go in and you can copy one, but you have to make sure that the variable, it will give the variable name. I'm going to say copy so you can see what I'm talking about. It will give it a different variable name because you cannot repeat a variable name. And those of you that work with statisticians on this system, you'll know that the reason why they have to have a different variable name. And it's going a little slow while it's trying to work. This green arrow is basically called the branching logic. And I'll show you in here where we'll have a branching logic we can work on. This actually moves if you wanted to move the field. You wanted to move it here or you want to move it here, you can move it here. Stop action will actually, you could stop if they've gotten to a point on the form where they can't go any further, they can't answer any question any further, then the stop action is there. And this is actually for deleting. And I'm not sure what it's doing, but it might cut me off. Okay. Any questions while I'm trying to figure out what's going on? Okay, no questions. Wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna back up, see if that works. I'm gonna go back in and I'm gonna try to go in so you can take a look at it. You can create multiple choice questions and set the answer choices for them. You can have as many answer choices as you need. The multiple choice question is rendered as a radio button only. And again, here is where the variable names, it didn't actually copy it for me, but when it copy it, it will call, the next one will probably be radio underscore 2 to give you a different variable name. Required field, this is actually used, it's always no, but if you want it to be required, you would have to click yes. And identifier, this field contains identifying information like name, social security, and address. And you want to say yes if it is an identifier so that when you get ready to do your report, it'll ask you questions whether or not this is de-identified information. That way, when it get ready to print it, it will hash it out because you said in the beginning that this is an identifiable field. So I don't want it to be seen on the form. REDCap is not a pretty tool. It's not going to give you fancy ways to put your form, to make your form look one way or another. Everything is pretty much straightforward or across. You can set them up to right vertical, left vertical. Your questions can be left horizontal, so on and so forth. But it basically is just inputting your data in and a way of getting it out. In some areas, you can add a picture, but you would have to create a field for that. And then there's an area that I'll show you where you can actually add. Okay. You can also set a multiple choice questions as a drop down. It's the same as using your multiple choice question with the radio buttons, but you could set it up as a drop down. The text box, this particular text box area could be used for emails, phone numbers, first name or last name, or dates, so that where you only need maybe a line, not necessarily a full paragraph. And there's an area where you can do a paragraph. And we'll talk a little bit more about this. Action tags and field annotations. The action tags are basically for the administrators. Field notation is basically an area where you're optional, but it's for you to make any type of notes within that field. And field note optional here, it's like a reminder text underneath the field. For example, if I had birthday, or if I had what color is your skirt, then underneath here you would remind them that I need a color of your skirt here. Just an example that popped in my head. The validation process here is an area where, for example, if you have this as a date, you would choose whether you want day, month, day, year, month, date, and also date and time. If this was all letters that you wanted, then you would specify letters. So when they enter it, it will give them an error that says this is not the proper format. And that way it will prompt them again. If they can't get the proper format, they can push forward, but you'll get an error message, or you'll get it in the end when you get ready to pull it up. You'll be able to see that something was not entered correctly, and it's going to be listed as incomplete. And I'll show you those areas as well, how you can look at the dashboard. Okay, another data type, multiple choice question, the checkbox. It allows more than one answer here. You can click more than one, and that's under the data type that you can select. The yes and no and the true and false. These are basically, if a statistician wanted to specify no for 0 and 1 for yes, you can use this one. But if, for example, for me, I like to use 2 for no. So this can't be modified. So I would have to use a text box, and then I would use either drop down or radio button, say 1 is yes, 2 is no. And again, I'll show you how to enter those once you know how to create one of the fields in a minute. We talked a little bit about the date, and the date will give you a pop-up calendar will appear, allowing you to select a date, or it can be simply typed in. File upload is basically just that. You could create your field. For example, if you wanted them to provide a CV, you would say, please provide CV, and allow them this area over here to upload their document. And slider allows them to choose an answer along the slider. You create what you want in the fields from left to right. And the descriptive text provides information text within a survey section. Matrix box, it will help you create one question instead of, for this particular one, 2, 3, 4, instead of having 4 different questions, you'll have it matrix. And it could be displayed as radio buttons or check boxes. Okay. Branching logic. Branching logic is the question immediately following this one is usually branching logic, which means that the question will stay hidden until defined criteria are specified. For example, if I wanted to know if you've taken REDCap and you say yes, then a box will drop down to say, who did you have REDCap with? If you say no, then I want you to just go to the next question, because and then the box won't drop down. And that kind of helps makes your form a little cleaner as well. The stop action, I talked a little bit about that earlier. It can be applied to any or all answer choices. The answer choice is selected by a respondent. Their survey responses are then saved and the survey is immediately ended. And this is where you would actually have a, if you have wanted more than a couple of lines or more than a line, you would use the text, the large amount of text. You would use the note box for this particular one. And that's basically how you set up your form. I'm going to just go in and add a field just so you can see what adding a field look like. What it does, if I'm on, for example, I'm on the one that says yes and no, it's going to give me that field type for the last field, for the field type before my question that I want to add. So if I want to go in and add a yes and no, I would like to have a text box. And from here, actually I want to drop down. From here, I would just go in and give my field type. You can have the system automatically auto name. Now this would be too long for the statistician. I would just go in and say shirt color. And you don't have to put the underscores, it automatically do it. Then I want to put my choices, red, yellow, green. And I want it to be a required field. And it's not an identifier, and I'm just going to say save. And it's here for the drop down. There you go. Okay, that's how you build your form. Now I'm going to go into survey settings. In the survey settings, this is where you would go in and you would, if your survey is going to be offline or online, if you've created a survey and you know you're done with it, you could take it offline. If you're done with getting the survey from the respondents and you're ready to move on and close it so no one else goes on, you put it on offline. Your title would be here, the title of your project that you gave it, of the form that you gave it. Survey instructions are here. If there are any specific instructions, once they click on the link, this is the area where it would be. And here you can change the colors and you can bold and you can do a lot of that here in this area. If you have a logo and you want to use a logo, you can use a logo here in place of the title.
again, like I said, I know this can be overwhelming. It's a lot in one sitting, but it's just kind of an overview, and we can stop me at any time if you have questions. Okay, I have a question. Do staff members at the community based on? Yes, there's a question. Do staff members at the community-based organization have permission to use such access REDCap? Anyone that has taken the training, the overview and the training with me, and they have a sponsor here at Morehouse that we can connect them to, it's not a problem. Because if you're working on a project here, that's basically what they want you to be able to use REDCap. So yes, to answer the question that, and I'm thinking that's what the question is, but it says staff members at the community-based organizations. So I don't know if Dr. Hopkins or anyone has anything to add to that, they can go ahead and reply to that one. Okay, let's see. Now you can, I'm going to show an example. You can go in and you can enhance your radio button, enhance your checkbox. You can make it look a little prettier. You can put in normal or large size text. You can font or change your font size. You can change and you can customize your colors, your survey theme. So I mean, it's something. We used to didn't have this, so it was just all black and white. But this allows you to make it look a little prettier if that's important to you. You can save your custom themes and go back to it. Okay, numbering. It won't. Question numbers will not display correctly if using auto numbering. If some questions have branching logic employed, so you gotta be careful whether or not you want it to be customized numbers or you actually want to go in and have auto numbering. You can put them all on one page, or you can separate the pages. You can have um, multiple sections. You can display page numbers at the top of the survey, and you can hide the previous page number. For required fields, you can have it listed so that they will see that an answer must be provided. You can allow your respondents, most people don't allow the respondents to see the surveys, so they would usually leave that disabled. Now we have text to speech functionality. We haven't used it here. No one's requested to use it, but that option is there. And Vanderbilt usually hosts it. They have a service that they host, send it to be hosted. So I'm sure that's probably a charge, but no one's asked to use it, so we haven't really looked into that. You can have a maximum number of respondents to collect. Starting the survey after a set number of responses have been collected. So you can set this up any particular way that you would like. And a little bit more information about that, again, if we need to sit down and go over some things, we can do that as well. You can limit your survey to the days, hours, or minutes. You can put an expiration date on it. And I always allow for save and return, because if you have a form that has 50 or 60 questions and a person is in the middle of it and they want to stop, this allows them to stop and go back. It'll give them a code. If they happen to not remember the code, you can go back into that particular form because you have REDCap access, and then give them the code to finish out the survey. And if you want to start the next survey, you can set it up to start the next survey or redirect it to a URL, or you can give, thank you for completing the survey. Someone will notify you within 24 to 48 hours, or however you want to set that up. And you can also send a confirmation. By sending a confirmation, you're just basically going to put in, if you have to have an attachment, if you have attachment you need, you can compose, put an attachment, and this will stay here. So if you need to use it again for someone else, save changes. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Let me get out of here. You can create automated invitations. Okay, here we go. You can go in and you can set up again your title and your subject. You can go and tell it when you want it to send out. When it's completed, they can select a survey. You can also specify a time frame. You can test it, ensure that everything is true before sending an invitation. It will prompt you. You can send it immediately, set a time frame to send it, and you can activate it or not. This particular area, a lot of, well, not a lot, but some people don't really use this part here, but it depending on how many surveys you have and how often you're sending surveys out. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to managing survey participants. This is the area where you would set up your participant list. You can open the survey here. You can open a public survey. And I put all those crazy colors. Sorry about that. And then you can send a URL to your email and copy it and put it into an email that you want to send out. You can get a short survey link, and here is where you would use your mobile app. You'll get a survey access code for that. Participant list is basically where you're going to set up your participants here. You can enable it so that you can go, and if you have specific numbers to go to those participants, you can put the numbers here. It'll allow you to do that. It'll tell you if they responded. If there's a schedule, it'll show the schedule. It'll show you when it was sent out, and it will give you the link of what they've completed so you can open it up from here. And this again is for the mobile app. And to add it, you just click here and add it. This survey invitation log basically will show you, it'll give you the past invitations that were sent, future invitations. It just gives you a little bit more details about that particular survey. And that's managing the survey. Record status dashboard. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. The record status dashboard. This basically will tell you exactly the status of your survey. I don't have anything in here, so I can't really show you that, but I'm going to switch off in a minute and talk a little bit about entering the form, and then we'll go over some of the applications. But this is a ledger. If it's incomplete, means that there's some missing information. It'll be incomplete. And if you have it set up to be verified and it hasn't been verified, then it'll be yellow. And I'll show you with something that has data that where the fields will show you the different ledgers. If it's complete, which means that you have information in there, it's not a required field, but it's missing. It's complete, but it's not. The survey is not totally complete. A totally complete survey would mean everything is filled out, there's nothing missing, and you would get the checkbox in the green. Partial survey response, I mean they partially completed it, but there are no fields that are incomplete in the field at all. Incomplete means no data was ever entered at all. And then all of the forms will be listed here that have been entered. Any questions? Okay, I don't see any questions. Now we're going to enter this form a little bit. Add and edit is where you would go in and you would add, you would edit. I want to add a new record. So I'm going to click on a new record and I'm just going to go through and enter it. And this right here is where you have to have access to go in and enter this information. So I'm going to purposely leave a few things undone. I'm going to save. You can save and stay on the form, save and mark survey as complete. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Is that person able to mute their line that's having the drilling in the background? I don't know who it is. I'm just saying maybe they'll hear me.
Yeah,
But go
hopefully. Okay, save and exit. You save and you exit the form. And it's incomplete because there were some areas that I didn't fill out. So this is where you will actually see the status of all of the forms. You can go here and open the form. You can lock your instrument, but you would have to have access to do all of that. And then I will actually go through those when I go through the application. Calendar, we talked a little bit about. This is where your calendar looks like. You can go in and you can add data exports and reports and stats. This is where you actually can go in and create a report. You can go in and do what I call a data, well, it's not really a data dump. You can view everything on the form. Of course, I don't have much, but this is basically where you will see it. You can go in and you can, and I'll show you a form that has something other than one question that you could take a look at. And this is where you'll go in and you can either make it a pie chart, you can download the image and put it into your report. And this will give you the counts and frequencies if that's information is important to what you're working on or your report that you would like to submit. You can export your report into an Excel, into SAS, and some of the other applications. So for the sake of just showing you, I will go in and I will do it by labels. And this is where I was saying that you have to, the option of de-identifying. If it's on the front end, once you go through here, you can have it remove all identifier fields, remove unvalidated text fields. So you'll be able to see all of that as you go through. And I'm going to go and say export. And I'm going to pull up the labels, pull up the form with the labels. And it should only be, there must be something else I had open. I was like, what is that? Okay. And this is basically what I selected in the participant. It'll list everything there. Now, if you want to go in and create a filter, that's a little bit different. Okay. This is what happens when you have too many windows open. Sorry, y'all got to see all of this. Okay. Okay. Close that. And that's pretty much that for the other options we talked about, different options that you can use, zip file or upload files or records. And if you wanted to create a filter, you create your report, give a report a name, and this is where you go in and you can specify your fields included in your report. You can do a quick add to add all of them. And if you want to go in and create a filter, for example, it's not going to give me anything, but I'm going to say participant ID equals 1. And you can add more to that. You can save the report, view the report. And of course, because there was only one, it gave me what I needed. Let's see. And again, if you wanted to know more about the video, on how to use data export, you click on here and it will walk through how to do that. I was trying to see if they've updated this one. I'm supposed to say something, but my system's not acting right, so we won't even bother with that. Okay, data import. If you wanted to bring in a template, you can download your import template, or you can upload your template. And in order to upload your template, You would have to make sure that it's in the proper format. For example, if someone has a project that they would like for you, that you would like to have, they can send you their data dictionary, send the file in the right format, and then upload it here, and you can pull it into your project. And once you pull it into your project, you can modify it, or you can go to the REDCap library. This data comparison tool, it basically, if you have different records that you like to compare, it will compare any differences that may or may not be what you want. You will be able to see it from here. Now, one of the other areas that I felt would be good if you're working on something with more than one person, or if you're working on something you need to see what's been going on with your project, you can go into the logging. You can filter by event. You can filter by user, whatever user has been, just to see what's going on with your project. And you can filter by records if you want to see when a specific record was created. You can specify by range, and you can display event by most recent. You can download the entire login record to Microsoft Excel, and this is the format that everything needs to be in CSV. And there's an area for field comments if there are any comments that you'd like to see. If you have files that you need to attach to the project, you can put the files in here. And user rights, I'll talk a little bit about user rights. If you have someone that needs access to your study, this is the area you would go. What I usually do that when I am setting up a project, and I know there's going to be more than one person on it, they haven't gotten access to it yet because they haven't been trained or whatever the reason might be. I'll go in and I'll set up roles. For example, I know I'm going to have a group of people that are going to be doing data entry. So I will go in and I would set up a data entry role, which they're limited as to what they can do. But you don't have to keep putting that person in, keep going through assigning the role if you already have assigning the custom rights if you already have a role. So what I generally do is I'll go in and I'll add, create a role. This particular person won't be doing project setup. They won't be giving user rights. So they're going to get pretty much the basic. And I don't want, they may need to rename a record, but I don't want them to delete a record. So I just basically go in and create that role for them. And each time if a person has access, I will go in and I will assign a role. And they actually have to have, so I actually assign myself the data entry role. If I have someone that is at a higher level and I wanted the program manager, I will create a role for that. So again, you kind of see what I'm saying here. This person's going to get all the rights. They're going to get everything. So I would basically just go down the line and give them everything. They're going to be locking and unlocking the data. So I will create that role. And then I will go in and I will just assign that person to that role. Or if you only have one person that you know is ever going to be on this, then I would just go in and I would go in and give them the custom rights. Put their username in here and then just give them the custom rights. So that's kind of a little quick and dirty on trying to set up a user rights. And you can set up access groups pretty much the same way. If you have various different projects that are being worked on in different regions, you can go in and set them up. And again, you have your video that will show you exactly what you need to do on how you set up your access group. Okay. And no one's really talking about record locking customizations because some of them, they aren't really, locking the records. If there's e-signature and locking management, you can use that. Data quality, if you want to start cleaning up your data and you want to see any missing values, you can go through here and execute the values and you can view the values that are missing. And it'll show you what's missing. You can exclude it if you know you're not gonna get it and keep moving forward. And again, other missing values, required fields, so on and so forth. That's part of the data quality. Now the API and the API playground, basically the API is an interface that allows external applications to connect to REDCap remotely and is used for programmatically retrieving or modifying data or settings within REDCap, such as performing automated data imports, exports from a specified REDCap project. And it gets a little bit more in depth, and you can work with, for example, if you have something that you need programming on, and we have the capability to do that here, you would send it a BRU request and ask for more further assistance on anything that you may have to have set up. This is also where you would go in and request your API token for your mobile app. And that's just basically the secure part in the back end so that no one can pick up your tablet or your phone and go into our system and see what's there or add to it. They first have to have access, but if they have access and they don't have an API token, they won't be able to get into the software to do anything or to see anything. And it's very safe. If the laptop got left somewhere or got lost, no one could actually get in and do anything with the data. They couldn't even see it. And this is where the reports that you create, they'll actually be under what's called reports. You can go from here and edit them. Help and FAQ, video tutorials, and suggestions that you may have here. If you wanted to contact the administrator, which will be myself, you can go here and contact the administrator. And I'm going to actually go to a form. We're going to go back to project. Let me go back to my project, Project Home. Project Home takes you back to where we were. From Project Home, you can go back and manage your surveys here, export your data here. You can create a report from here without going through the other different steps. And you can check your data quality here, user rights, and online designer. I'm gonna walk back through a little bit more of the online designer so I can push it into production so that you can see how to do that. So I'm gonna go back to, again, if you wanna copy the project, when you copy the project, if you have a project that's already almost completed, you wanna copy it and you want the same users to have access to this project, that it will give you the option to keep the same users. And it would also give you the option to go ahead and if there's data in there and you don't want it in the other form, the other project that you created, it'll allow you to delete that data as well. Let's see, we're gonna go back to project setup. Now I say I'm done with my online designer. I'm gonna show you how to download the data dictionary. If you wanted to download your data dictionary, you would download it here. Open your file. And this is what it looks like. So if, for example, let me move this out of the way. For example, if you wanted to take this and go in and add another form here, say you want to have another form called, for lack of a better word, a form that's called REDCap survey. And this one just says survey. This is where you would go in and you would put your form name, you would actually put in your variable names, and you can go in and see what type of field types. Again, this process right here is something that it's another class, another session, just basically focusing on this so you can understand how to set it up in the different avenues you would need to go in order to create this. But I just want to kind of show you what it actually looks like and how you can download it. And I'm going to go back to project setup. And I said I'm done with this part here. If I wanted to, if I wanted to go in and enable a repeatable instruments, I can enable it here. Auto numbering records was already set up. So this is kind of some additional customizations you can do here. I'll say that I'm done with this. And you can set your project, if you have bookmarks, if you have that you continuously go through with this project, on this project, you can set them up here. I'm going to say that I'm done here, and I'm done creating the users that I would like on my study at this point. You can always go back and add users. Just because you're done here doesn't mean you can't add later on the access group. I've tested it and I'm fine with everything. So I'm just going to say I'm done with testing. And now I want to move it into production. So I'm going to move it in production. And I'm going to say, this is what I was telling you, you can, this is an area where you can delete all the data. I want to keep the data that I've had in here. So I'm just going to say, let's keep the data and move it to production. Now that I'm in production, I'm pretty much ready to go. I'm ready to get started. We talked a little bit about some of the other functionalities, and this will give you project revisions. For some reason, I don't know where they're getting this date from, but it is not 6:40 p.m. in the U.S. where we live. So I don't know why that's like that, but we're going to look at the back. If that is something that you really need to make sure that it's accurate, that's something that we need to focus on and talk to Vanderbilt about at the back end. Because again, they created this, and any changes we have that are not changes that we can change on our server, we would have to talk to them. But I think this is something on our server, so I'll look into that. But now I've decided now I want to go in and make a change. So now that I've made a change, it's going to ask me, because this is where I say, if you're ready, go ahead and move it into production. But if you're not, some changes I may have to double check and have you verify that you really want to make the change, because the change you make may be something that might change your form. It may delete something that's on the form. So it kind of gives you the opportunity to stop and say, okay, no, maybe I don't want to add that field, because if I add that field, this is going to happen. This is where I would come in. If you say you enter it in draft mode, you go in and you make your changes, and you can review them, review the changes that you've made. And of course, I didn't really do anything. So you submit your changes. Changes are submitted. Once your changes are made, you have to wait for the change to be reviewed and approved. Some of them you do, some of them you don't. If you excuse me, happen to have something that needs to be reviewed by me, please, by all means, send me a follow-up email saying, hey, Helen, I did something today that I need to be approved. It's saying that I need to have you to approve it. I'll talk to you about it for a minute to make sure this is what you want, and I'll go ahead and I'll submit the approval. Excuse me. It doesn't happen a lot, because like I say, most of these, if you're the person that's setting it up and you have all the rights, you have the rights, it will automatically be approved by you. And the reason why some of them aren't approved by you is because, again, it wants to make sure this is something you want changed. And for me to explain a little bit that this may change this or this may change that. And it's really on major things, not anything that's simple like you've added a field to something. Okay, I am going to go back and look at, show you some real data. So I'm going to go back to my projects. Well, it's not, it's test data really. And I'm going to show you REDCap's survey. It's in production, but what I wanted to do was kind of show you a report. I don't know if I created a report. Yes. In this particular one, I wanted to know, let me see what the reports say. I'm sorry. Edit report. I basically wanted to know, what is your title, not equals blank, so that it would list the titles for me. So we talked a little bit about this, and I guess I was just trying to show you what the stats look like for this particular one. So you can see the counts and the frequencies, and you can actually see if I wanted it to be a pie chart. I just like colors, what it looks like. And then you can hover over it and it'll tell you exactly what the particular consistency or frequency is. So I'm trying to see if I've covered everything. TCC group, have I covered everything for you guys? Is there anything else that you guys are needing to know about? Again, I know that some of this is real fast paced, and you may have questions on how you enter or how you do anything. Please, and I'm going to show you how to get to my RBIU request form so that if you have anything that you need any specific one-on-one assistance with, or if we can help you in any way to get started with your project, please by all means let us. I'm going to hit the REDCap mobile app just a little bit. And this one doesn't have the REDCap mobile app set to it, so I can't really show anything on that one. But it basically will show you all the data dumps. Oh, okay. Now it's giving me a blank screen. Okay, it will show you all the app activity, the application data dumps, because you can do data dumps from the Android or phone or whatever device that you're using, and it'll put the dumps here. It'll tell you different time the apps was logged in, and this is all relatively new. They've updated a lot of this as they go on and find things that are more helpful, and they get enough people to say, hey, we try this? They will do some testing in the back end, and then they'll upgrade and add some of these things. So this has been added since I actually started doing the mobile app training. And this basically shows you how to set up your project. If you want to go and take a look at it, you can look at the overview videos, you can look at project setup, and you can look at how installing the mobile app. And again, I know I ran through this kind of fast, but that's pretty much the whole overview of REDCap. So does anyone have any questions? You can put them in. Maybe you can put them in this box here, or you can actually respond. You guys are awful quiet. I like this. Okay. We talked about projects, home. If there are no more questions, then I think we're pretty much done earlier than I had anticipated. Oh, I think Jane, they wanted me to show you guys something in. Let me go to one of my projects. I don't think there's anything here. Let me see. I'm going to show you how to get to our form. And you would get to our form through the R Center portal. So if you happen to be at this, if you're on our website, you will go to research portal. Okay. And under the research portal, we're going to go to services that we offer here in the Clinical Research Center. Under services, you would go bioinformatics unit. I know that's a lot of steps, but if you've gotten an email from me, you will see under my email it has BIU request form. This is where you will go and fill out if you wanted further assistance with anything. Okay. Yes, this is where you would go and complete whatever assistance you might have submitted to us, and we will see it. Okay, I have a question. If data is entered at the wrong time point, can it be moved to the correct time point without deleting and re-entering? I may need a little bit more. What do you mean by time point? If there's anything that has to be changed on, some things can be changed on the back end. But if there's something that's entered on the form and the time and the date is, or time is incorrect, you can go in and change that if that's what you're referring to. Stephanie, did that answer your question? Okay. And 9 months. Okay, if assessments are entered 3, 6, and 9 months, and Stephanie, I would have to check that one for you. There may be something that on the back end they would have to download it and then put it back in. So I would definitely check that one for you. And I don't know if I have well, I'll get your username. I'll get your email address and your name, and I'll clarify that for you, because that's more of a programming. And it may be something that Vanderbilt can share with me, because when I go on the consortium and ask questions like that, I may be able to find the answer for you. So shoot me an email on that one, and then I'll get back with you. And then if it's something that I think will help all of us, then I'll put it out on the messenger or send it out to you guys. Wonderful. There are no more questions, and you guys get out of class early today.
Thank you, Helen.
Okay. You are quite welcome.